How you doing, guys? And my second topic for this week is going to be about QuickTime for Windows. And this is actually an old news story. I believe it came out in April. Initially, I didn't think a lot about it because I've been using Macs for quite a while now for video production, other things. But I kind of revisited. I kind of stumbled on it actually because it means, in some cases, it means something detrimental to the Windows users. Now, back in April, I guess it was announced that Micro Trend or Trend Micro, I can't, one of those antivirus software people, was recommending to remove QuickTime for Windows because it had two vulnerabilities that would allow a person to take over your computer. And then also, Apple made a comment that they are not going to update or support QuickTime for Windows anymore. So obviously this is going to be a big problem in some cases. Now, initially what I thought, I'm like, okay, well, there are some alternatives for people who want to watch QuickTime videos, MOV or whatever. You can still have iTunes, watch it within iTunes, put it into your library. Third-party applications such as VLC, I believe, still be able to play QuickTime or just about any other kind of format. Now, but what I didn't really think about is the content creators. Professionals such as myself, videographers who do a lot of editing and using different type of video files. And because, especially with ProRes, you have to have QuickTime installed to get ProRes, which is actually used by a lot of software applications. And I didn't realize how much applications are dependent upon QuickTime. For instance, Avid, for instance, they use QuickTime for their video editor as well as Adobe Premiere Pro, for instance, and there's probably a lot of other programs that use it, and which is mainly ProRes, but for some other things, which are actually MOV files. And actually thinking right now, there's actually a lot of cameras, video cameras and still cameras that record in a QuickTime type format like MOV. And give you an example, I've got my Atomos Ninja Star, and that primarily encodes in ProRes, and I don't think it encodes in anything else. So this is actually a problem for Windows users who make content. Now, the good thing that we found about it is now why this vulnerability is only in the QuickTime player itself and some of the web browser plugins that will allow you to watch QuickTime files in your web browser. Those are the only things affected. So if you have a video application or something like that that uses it, you could still install it and still be perfectly safe just using like the video editor or whatever that uses it. Obviously, if you use anything outside of that, then you might be compromised. And also, since Apple's not going to update the codexes and QuickTime for Windows, over time it could depreciate, or there's going to be new standards coming out, and it's simply the older version for Windows is not going to be able to support that, and that's going to be, like I said, a real problem for a lot of users in Windows. So whatever, we're going to look at some of our options. We can leave QuickTime installed, and possibly you may have to disconnect it from the internet and just use your machine, you know, for those uses only, video editing. But of course, then you wouldn't be able to update your software and other things. Like I said, you can just don't use any of the web QuickTime for like your browser, disconnect it in your web browser. A lot of times you can go in the plugins and disconnect them or remove them. And don't use QuickTime Player. You should use another thing. Now, there has been some updates by certain third-party applications that rely on QuickTime, and they're actually trying to fix that because they know, that's going to affect their software. For instance, DaVinci Resolve version 12 12.5.1 now can support of decoding of ProRes and MOV files. Also, Adobe is currently working on supporting QuickTime files without QuickTime installed on the computer, such as Adobe Creative Cloud Premiere Pro. Now, I want to state that it would allow these software allow them to decode or play QuickTime or MOV files, ProRes, but it won't necessarily allow you to encode. So I could see this being a big problem for those type of people. Give me your thoughts, or if you're a professional, maybe workarounds that you use, because I'm actually interested in hearing other people's ideas on